the offshore oil-producing countries in the region and areas spreading across the Gulf of Guinea to the Cape in South Africa, is one of the most important sea routes in the world, accounting for more than 3,000 ships passing annually with an estimated 140 million tons of oil. Offshore oil producers like Angola produces about 1.8 million barrels a day, all offshore and also deep sea, while Nigeria has 8 deep sea production blocks producing almost 700,000 barrels a day, in addition to production in shallow waters. Smaller productions are also found in other countries in the region, such as Democratic Republic of Congo, Ghana, among others. The richness of the marine environment in the region, in fisheries resources and other sea animals, is also evident. If well harnessed, the oil and the marine resources have the capacities to jumpstart economic prosperities in the region and promote the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030.
It's a matter of will. It's a matter of commitment to have the right legislation, but not least following it up. And then I think in any country, and not least Nigeria, if you see there's good business in preserving your environment, then the economic benefits, if they are clearly seen, then there's obviously a possibility to do this and do it soon.
However, despite the benefit of the oil sector and marine industry, the presence of oil platforms offshore and shipping activities can have serious consequences on humans, the entire marine environment, and socio-economic activities. Most especially, offshore drilling and shipping can generate marine pollution owing to oil spill, whose effects can be highly detrimental in terms of survival of marine animals, particularly fish. Also, it has been observed that while seabed activities on oil exploration and production constitute a relatively small part in the general amount of the pollution of marine environment with oil, the principal cause of marine pollution with oil is shipping.
If you have 13,000 vessels that apply, and of course over 3,000 of them are tankers, there are a lot of incidences, there are a lot of accidents, and whatever happens, in the sea also affects the biodiversity, especially the fishery, which is one angle that, supply food security, to the population.
Nigeria has a long history of horrendous oil spills. In 2011, Shell spilled 40,000 barrels of crude oil from its Bonga platform. In the same year, Chevron's gas rig blew up and the fire raged for 1 month. In 1998, Mobil spilled 40,000 barrels from its Idaho platform. The greatest disaster was caused by Shell in 1979 when Fucados, an offshore terminal, lost about 570,000 barrels.
Well, there are a number of activities trying to clean up the delta, which is a long haul. It will take a lot of money, take a lot of resources, a lot of courage to do this. That's why it's so important to prevent this from happening offshore. I mean, now it's the sea is there. You haven't had the big accidents yet, so preventing the same thing which is happening onshore, offshore, is one of the objectives. Then, obviously, because people live mainly onshore, it's very important to continue the cleanup of the delta. We are strongly supporting the UN Environmental Organization, UNEP, in their efforts to support Nigeria in doing this. The oil companies are chipping in with money as well. But then you have to also get it right. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about it, but now it's time to do the real cleanup, because you haven't really seen a change for people in the delta yet.
In Nigeria, around 15% of oil is produced offshore in coastal waters rather than onshore, and this is increasing. Although offshore oil production is more expensive, it is considered to be more secure, as the drilling rigs are less accessible to rebels and are therefore relatively well protected against attack. But even here, attacks have occurred. In 2008, rebels from one of Nigeria's largest militant groups, the Movement for the Emancipation of the Niger Delta, attacked an offshore oil rig 120 kilometers off the coast in a demonstration of seaborne power. Nonetheless, the expansion of the offshore oil industry, according to social scientists in Nigeria, could help to mitigate the problems facing the region and reduce the potential for conflict. For unlike onshore oil production, communities are not directly impacted by the offshore industry, and pollution of soils and drinking water is avoided. There is a particularly serious problem with toxic hydrocarbon pollution of soil and water. In 49 cases, hydrocarbons were found in soil down to depths of 5 meters, and in 41 cases, the hydrocarbon pollution had reached the groundwater. Furthermore, fishing has declined sharply in the region as fish stocks have decreased, presumably because of the pollution. With the oil spills comes the challenge of cleanup. Experts are also frowning at the indiscriminate use of chemicals during the exercise. They ask for caution.
Now, oil itself is a toxic compound because of the polyaromatic hydrocarbon. So when you apply a dispersant, which also is a chemical, you are aggravating the negative impact on the environment, especially on the fisheries. The dispersant actually, what does it do? It disperses the oil. It breaks the oil into smaller globulates. And these smaller globulates are now, giving that efficiency to descend, to sink into the bottom of the seabed, what we call sedimentation. Now, by sinking into the seabed, it makes it very easy for the dermal organism at the seabed to consume this globulate. And by so doing, ingesting it affects the entire system of the fish or the animal. And so by so doing, it changes the morphology. It links up to the food chain. Of course, other animals might eat them. Eventually, human beings might eat them. So you see that the effect or the good of using the dispersant is not actually actualized, but rather you extend the negative effect to a very long time. Who knows when? But in the case of the mechanical method, you actually mechanically pick up the oils from the environment, and then the IOCs may not also lose, because when you pick up the oil, you can now re-inject it back to the system and you have minimal loss.
Experts say it is crucial to understanding how marine activities affect and impact the oceans and coasts, and to developing effective management protocols to protect the oceans, coasts, and their resources for future generations. The oceans are a vast resource which contributes to human well-being. Therefore, it is without a doubt in the best interest of humanity to ensure that the oceans are exploited in a manner that is protective and sustainable in order to preserve their health and guarantee their continuing viability. That's our program for the day. Thank you for staying tuned. Do join us next week for a fresh episode. In the meantime, you can view this episode and other episodes of the program by visiting our website, channelstv.com. Click on the program's menu and then click Earthfile. We'll see you next week.